Carrying the sign-up sheets in the back of the room. Thank you.
Yeah, always. Yeah, but it is something. We just got him saying that. I guess probably they have. That's good. Shannon. Actually, that sounds curious. Morning. Yeah. You officially called the Siler City Town Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Let's all stand for the invocation. Most gracious and holy fathers, once again we come to give you the glory, honor, and the praise that you so richly deserve. Father, we now thank you for this opportunity once again to stand before your people and govern in the best way that you see fit. Father, stand with us and be with us henceforth and forevermore. This is your humble servant's prayer. In Jesus the Christ's name we pray. Amen. Join us in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Brown, if you will read our mission statement.
To advance a framework for our success through balanced government, dynamic partnerships, and engaged communities.
I don't have one.
Mr. Bray, if you will read our vision statement.
Siler City vision statement.
Not in
Siler
here.
City is a safe, and vibrant community where diversity, innovation, and education drive success in a globally competitive society.
Thank you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
There are no proposed adjustments made.
No further agenda.
Second.
It's been moved, probably second, all in favor, let it know by a sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
It's been moved and probably second, all in favor by a sign of aye, all opposed have the same right.
Aye.
Okay, that takes us down to presentations. The town of Siler City Parks and Rec basketball team, where are you guys at? Come forward.
Oh, but there.
Try to get the whole team to come out, but they got the next sports coming up, so most of them are playing another sport. This is our head coach.
this is for each and every one of the players. And Commissioner Boone will read the official proclamation.
Town of Siler City proclamation. Congratulating the Siler City 15U boys basketball recreation team. Whereas the Siler City Parks and Recreation boys basketball team, the Bulls, through hard work and perseverance, dominated the season with a 10-0 season. And whereas the demanding athletic competition requires the highest levels of skills, determination, teamwork, and focus on selfless commitment to others. And whereas these 8 outstanding players, Zion Augusta, Braylon Harris, Devin Miller, Nolan Mitchell, Lennox Mordecai, Rajay Torres, Benjamin Watson, and Namir Wiley have represented themselves, their families, and their community proudly. And whereas the team was led by head coach Dale Farish and assistant coach Chris Golston, and therefore be it resolved, I, Donald A. Matthews, Mayor of the town of Siler City, and on behalf of the Siler City Board of Commissioners, hereby commends, congratulates, and gives special recognition to the Siler City Parks and Recreation 15U boys basketball team for its extraordinary achievement of a 10-0 season and winning the championship with a score of 77-33.
It's always good when we have the opportunity to recognize our young people. They could be doing so many other things, but they're winning championships. They're good young men. And proud to have them, and I hope they carry that to JM. I'm gonna say that again. We did that last time we did the championship. Well, I guess we're done, right? With all of them. You know, it is an honor and pleasure that we, I don't want to say goodbye, and I don't too much like the word retirement. Chief has been on me ever since we met about couplings. So I went out, Chief, and found you a pair personalized just for you. You are so welcome. Now, if you guys, come on, family. So that Mayor Pro Tem Bailey can read the proclamation.
Town of Siler City resolution recognizing 5 years of service of Michael Wagner to the town of Siler City. Whereas Michael Wagner became chief of police for the Siler City Police Department on June 3rd, 2019. And whereas his dedication of service to the town of Siler City and through his service as chief for the town of Siler City Police Department, Michael Wagner has demonstrated a high level of character, a strong and active concern for the future of the town of Siler City citizens, a tireless regard for the safety of the town of Siler City community, and an unwavering compassion for his fellow man. And whereas through his consistent education and law enforcement service to his community, Michael Wagner remained an inspiring role model for all the citizens of Siler City. And whereas Michael Wagner, through active engagement with all people of our small community but growing community, directed his efforts to improving the way law enforcement interacts with the community and reshaping the way the community views law enforcement. And whereas Michael Wagner announced his retirement from the Town of Siler City Police Department as of April 1, 2024. And whereas North Carolina General Statute 20-187.2 provides that retiring members of municipal law enforcement agencies may receive at the time of their retirement the badge worn or carried by them during their service with the municipality. And whereas North Carolina General Statute 20-187.2 further provides that the governing body of the municipality may, in its discretion, award the retiring member the service weapon that such retiring member carried. And whereas Chief Michael Wagner has served as a member of the Siler City Police Department for a period of 5 years and retired from the Town of Siler City Police Department on April 1st, 2024. Therefore, let it be resolved by the Town of Siler City, the mayor, the board of commissioners, that the badge and service weapon worn and carried by Police Chief Michael Wagner be awarded him on the occasion of his retirement. Therefore, let it be further resolved that Donald Matthews, mayor of the Town of Siler City, on behalf of the Siler City Board of Commissioners and all of its citizens, does hereby honor Michael Wagner for his selfless years of service and dedication to the Town of Siler City with this resolution, this the 18th day of March, 2024.
Chief Wagner, we can give you the birth.
Yes, thank you. I'll be enjoying the time. Thank you.
You know, so I think you have some other presenters coming your way, and we're gonna call them. Hopefully, they are all here in the order that they are listed. Mr. Sam Schumate. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Stand up front or? Good evening, I'm Sam Schumate, Southeast Regional Director for United States Senator Ted Budd, and I just want to thank Chief Wagner for the invitation to come and speak tonight and the council as well. I'm here to present something that is pretty difficult for us to get our hands on, even though there's roughly 100,000 flags flown over the Capitol every year. This is a program that started back in 1937. Senator Budd, and prior he was a congressman, has a long-standing policy of reserving these for individuals, organizations, or entities that really go above and beyond to make a difference in the communities that they serve. This is only the second one he has ever done for anybody in Chatham County, and it is my honor to give this to you on his behalf as a token of his appreciation for your 34 years of service. Well, if I could real quick, the senator asked if I'd put some of his words in his voice, and he read a note that I'm going to read really quick on his behalf. Dear Chief Wagner, congratulations on your retirement of 34 years in law enforcement with the Albemarle County Police Department and the Siler City Police Department. While your public service and law enforcement as a commander and as a police chief is highly commendable, your commitment to service is also exemplified through your time with the Virginia National Guard and the U.S. Army. Throughout your career, you have gone above and beyond to make a difference, not only to your colleagues, but in the communities in which you've served. Representing individuals like you in the United States Senate is truly one of the greatest honors. Sincerely, Ted Budd, United States Senator, North Carolina.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Cam Mills.
Mr. Mayor, Town Council, it's good to be back with you guys to celebrate such a wonderful man, Chief Mike Wagner. Chief, you've been a good friend to me, even when I worked for Mount Air a few years ago. So hopefully, good to see some of you folks. I'm Cam Mills. I work for Congressman Richard Hudson, and I'm here to present an official congressional record from the proceedings and debates of the 118th Congress first session. This was read by the congressman on the House floor to the members of Congress and to the Speaker of the House. Pretty lengthy paragraph. I won't read it, but Chief, I'll let you enjoy that so you can hang this up in your home. But first part says, in honor of Chief Mike Wagner of Siler City, North Carolina, for his many years of dedicated service. It's Chief, my honor to present you this congressional record. Thank you.
Now, Ms. Wagner told me on this next presentation that our Representative Reese's wife was coming, and that's not her right there. Representative Reese, if you would come forward at this time.
What I heard you say was that the prettier one came. That's what I report back. Chief, it's a pleasure to see you. Wife knows how much of an odyssey it was for me to get here, but I wanted to get here if I could and was glad to. And we are also happy, first and foremost, to present you with this flag. Well deserved. It literally feels like you just got here.
I agree.
I'm telling you, it was a pleasure when we first met. I've enjoyed all that you've done to try to move our police department forward, all the changes, and especially, knowing that, you might be retiring soon. You've never let up. You've been a part of our community. You've shown up everywhere we need you to show up. You've done a lot for the officers that are here, and I know that's why they're here to support you. So in honor of that, we do give you this right here, and thank you for all of that service. And we also have a resolution for you that I remembered my glasses this time. I was really proud. And still can't read this well, but I'm gonna try. And it says, whereas Chief Mike Wagner started his law enforcement career in Albemarle County, Virginia, September of 1991, and retired in May of 2019 after 28 years of service to the community. And whereas he earned his associate's degree in political science from Piedmont Virginia Community College, received his bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Bluefield College, accepted a master's degree in human service and executive leadership from Liberty University, before ultimately receiving a graduate certificate in police executive leadership from the University of Louisville. And whereas he graduated from the Southern Police Institute 132nd Session Administrative Officers course at the University of Louisville, attended the West Point Leadership Program through Methodist University, and progressed through the Professional Executive Leadership School through the Robbins School of Business at the University of Richmond. And whereas he was appointed Chief of Siler City, North Carolina on June 3rd, 2019, served the United States Army for 13 years and aided overseas during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Whereas he has educated many inspired students as an associate professor at Piedmont Virginia Community College and Mary Baldwin University for more than a decade. And whereas he served on the board of directors for the Chatham Outreach Alliance, as a member of the Chatham Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, and serves as chairman of the Animal Appeals Board. And whereas the North Carolina House of Representatives, Georgia Parks and Recreation Director and dear friend of the Chief, Tyler Stinson, is celebrating the accomplishments of Chief Mike Wagner. Now, therefore, this 20th day, no longer 20th day of February. I'm about to read that out. See, I paid attention. Whereas now this, guess they the 18th day of June. For those y'all don't know, we had tried to do this a little bit earlier and weren't able to get this done. Yes, of March in the year 2024, Representative Robert T. Reeves II says sincere congratulations to Chief Mike Wagner. Thank you. Mayor's wife just messed it up and everybody's gonna see that picture. I'm not gonna put you right there. You made a mistake. There you go.
Next up, we have the Honorable Todd Roper, District Court Judge.
Thank you, Mayor Matthews, Commissioners, good to see each of you, but it's your day. It's your day, and I don't even know if you remember our first conversation. But I remember, I'm not gonna put you on the spot. I got it. You called me up and you said, Judge, I want you to come swear in some of my officers. And you told me you wanted to make it a special day for them and their family. And that first conversation told me a lot about you. It told me you cared about the people you work with, cared about the people that you were gonna lead. And that was really important to me. And I thought, what a great guy. But then I had more conversations with you. Every day after I swear one of those officers in, you bring me back to your office and we'd sit there and we'd talk about what can we do for our community? How can we make our community better? And right then I knew that you loved your community. And I knew a couple of other things about you. You're a consummate professional. And you are also a person who is extremely organized. You had that thing running in tip-top shape. And that was so impressive to me to see that. The only regret I have is your term was way too short, sir. It was short-lived, but it was very productive. And I want you to know that I'm convinced your profession is one of honor. You protect and serve. Everything about you lives up to that motto. I want to thank you for your service and your friendship. I wish you the best of luck in your retirement, sir. Thank you.
Jay Hill.
Trying to get service. Can't be. No see.
100, Chad.
100.
Any tour of duty.
After 5 years of faithful service to the town of Siler City. It is a great honor to announce Chief Wagner's official retirement from law enforcement. Chief Wagner, your vision and leadership have set the department up for the future with the ability to provide exceptional service to the community with an emphasis on professionalism. We thank you for your selfless service to our community and country. May God bless you and your family. Siler City 100 is 1042.
Can I work?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, I want to thank the board, for supporting the police department. When you were out here when I first came, it's been an honor to serve our community. So I feel like I've taken this job with, a lot of passion that boils over, often about, my guys and our community. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, right? Not many people are able to retire in this business, and I've been blessed by God and my family more than I can ever say thank you enough. So thank you.
Thank you.
But to the community, my staff, I want to say thank you for all our guests, Representative Reeves and Sam, and I just want to say thank you for supporting our department through the years. It's a tough job. And these guys and gals that work for the department that are sworn in civilian, they do so much more than we ever know. And I love them all. I'm very blessed to have this opportunity to serve in this capacity. It was my honor. And it's time for me to move on and move to the next chief. And I trust that Chief Reagan will continue this legacy of building this department out like it should be and taking care of our community, and taking care of our staff. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me the opportunity and supporting me in the process.
And I have a forewarning, Chief Wagner, Mrs. Wagner says she has an extensive honeydew list. So with that being said, I want to introduce the chief that came come back. Start up, sir. Chief Wagner.
I'd like to make a motion. Commissioner Faley needs to be excused from the rest of the proceedings.
So moved.
I need to also be refused from the public hearing.
I'm sorry.
She needs to be recused from the public hearing.
Okay.
So there were two things.
Yes.
Second.
Are we gonna do both these motions at the same time?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Bailey is asked to be excused, and it's been probably moved in second. All in favor of noted bill, sign of aye. And all opposed have the same right. Motion passed. Commissioner Bray has asked to be recused from this public hearing. It's been probably moved in second. All in favor by the sign of aye. All opposed have the same right. Motion carried.
I move that we open the public hearing.
The moved on second that the public hearing is now officially open. All in favor by sign of aye. All opposed have the same right. Yes, ma'am. You have the floor, Ms. Baptiste.
Just a second.
That's a point of order, Mayor.
Yes,
Was Commissioner Bailey excused from the hearing or from the meeting?
from the meeting.
From the meeting.
Yeah, it's conflict, yeah, believe.
Good evening, this is case R 24-0103 for Shannon Drive. The owner is Mr. Khalidin LLC. The applicant is Courtney McQueen. The request is to conditionally rezone a parcel from residential 20 to single family residential 3 conditional. The property is located off of Lake Drive and is approximately 17 acres. The planning board recommended denial of this case at the January meeting. Next slide. As you can see from the subject property map, the property is located just north of West 3rd Street and just south of Lake Drive and Shannon Drive. Next slide. From the zoning map, you can see that the property is currently zoned as R20. And the surrounding properties to the north, east, and west are also zoned R20. And there's a little highway commercial zoning district to the south across West Third Street. Next slide. The future land use map currently has this property designated as low, medium density residential, as well as the properties to the north and to the west. There's low density residential suggested for properties to the east. Next slide. The applicant is proposing to develop this site with 30 single-family residential homes, 45 townhomes, and 45 apartments. Next slide. The property is currently vacant and undeveloped and has an electrical easement running through the property. Next slide. To the east of the property is Hunter's Court, which is an apartment complex. To the west of the property is single-family residential. To the south is a church. And also to the east of the property on West Third is a single-family residential dwelling. Next slide. On the north side of Lake Drive or single-family residential. To the south side of Lake Drive is also single-family residential and the subject property. Next slide. Your options tonight are to approve the map amendment to residential 3 conditional as presented and find the rezoning as inconsistent with the Siler City land development plan, but amend the land development plan to mixed use. Deny the request as being inconsistent with the surrounding area and the Siler City land development plan, or table the item to a date certain. That's staff's presentation. We have several people signed up to speak on this case. So if you're asking that you hold any questions to staff until after the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Like the first name is, oh, okay. Colin Bray. Will you come forward, take your name and address?
Mr. Mayor, should the applicant speak first so they know what they're addressing? We can go later if that would be your right.
Attorney.
I think it would make more sense for the applicant to do their presentation first.
Okay, all right, we'll call you back. Name and address.
Hi, sir. And could you pull that PowerPoint up, please? Thank you. My name is Tom Terrell. I'm an attorney with the firm Fox Rothschild based in Greensboro. I have been practicing for just a hair under 40 years. I represent cities, counties, throughout the state of North Carolina. And I represent private developers and different growth industries throughout this state and in Virginia to the north, South Carolina to the south. There is something that is happening right now that I have never seen in my life. And certainly that is new to my law practice. And that is the change that is coming to this area. My family farm is in Randolph County. I grew up in, I still live in High Point, but we're in the epicenter of a boom economy that we've never seen before. People need housing. We're getting those things that we have put our assets and our economic development teams to work for. It's coming. It has resulted from billions of dollars in investments. Now, Siler City knows how to deal with large employers. You have large employers. Could you go to that first slide, Kim? Mount Air is a very good example of a large employer right here in Siler City. Go to the next. VinFast, 7,500 jobs. I'm not telling you something that you do not know. Now, that stock in VinFast is going up and down. They're having some hiccups, but they're coming. Then, when VinFast comes, now there'll be a Moncure, but every supplier that caters to VinFast will need to come and be close by. Some of those are going to come and they're going to locate right here in the middle of Siler City. Go to that next slide. Wolfspeed. I don't need to tell you about Wolfspeed. You know about Wolfspeed. These aren't just new jobs. These are high-paying jobs. These are jobs that are going to transform not just the economy of Siler City, they're going to transform the character of the culture, everything about what Siler City has been over everybody in this room's lifetime. Go to the next one, please. Toyota is 16 minutes from here. It is a chicken jump to get over from where Liberty is to Siler City. I've been on that site. I got that site rezoned for Randolph County. It's 2 miles from one corner to the next. But what's going to happen is when 5,100 people move here, they're going to be looking for a place to live. And Siler City is not in a distant location. Siler City is near the epicenter. Let's go to the next slide. Now, what are all these people going to need? And again, this is not just Wolfspeed. It's not just VinFast. It's not just Toyota. It's all the companies that are going to be rushing in. These people are going to need a church. And if Siler City is like every other community that I know, there are empty pews on Sunday morning, and these people, they should be sitting in some of them. These people are going to be looking. They're going to be looking at restaurants. You have restaurants right here in Siler City that could grow, that they need to thrive more than they do. But all of these people coming in will need a place, not just for their birthdays and anniversary dinners, but just to go out on Friday night, a place to eat at lunch. These people are going to be looking for an inviting downtown. And you can't have an inviting downtown unless you have the people coming in who are going to be spending money to give you an incentive to be upgrading and creating that place. They're going to need healthcare facilities. They need places to volunteer. That's one of the first ways a person who moves to a new community tries to become a member of the community is they look for a way to volunteer and do good. They're going to need professional services. They're going to need people to fix their roofs. They're going to need plumbers. They're going to need auto repair establishments. They're going to need retail. But first, they need a place to live. They have got to have a place to live, and there aren't enough places to live. Right now, there is a housing crisis right now in the central part of North Carolina. In the city of Winston-Salem, I just finished a project there. They have, it's all estimate, but between 16 and 20,000 home deficit of what they need to serve the population coming into work. Boom Supersonic in Greensboro is creating around the airport a magnet. More companies are coming in, and some people just move here for the excitement of where things are happening. Let's go to the next slide, Kim. You don't solve this problem of a housing crisis. You don't solve it all on one reason. You can't, but you do solve it in the aggregate with several rezonings, one after the other. And this is starting to happen. In fact, the developer of this site is somebody who actually came before you last August and had an apartment project. It's the same company. But this is the project right here. And I got 3 slides here because they each show something different. This shows you that to the east and to the north, you have basically a 1950s subdivision. Nothing wrong with that. I grew up in a 1950s subdivision in a ranch house. I came back to that neighborhood and lived in a ranch house in the neighborhood where I grew up. All of these tracts to the west, though, have been vacant for everybody's life. It represents a little bit of change, and we acknowledge that. Go to the next slide, if you would. I put this in here. I actually took this from Ms. Baptiste's presentation. I thought it was outstanding. This shows that this is in a medium density area in your land use plan. That's what this gold color means. It means it's not low density, but medium density. Let's figure if you go to the next one. Now, this tells you a little bit more of the story. Although technically it is one tract, if you look down at that lower 25%, there's a transmission line that separates that lower part from the upper part. It creates basically not just a visual separation, but a separation in fact for different types of land uses. Now go to the next one. This is the site plan. I want you, now this is turned sideways, so you have to imagine what looks like it's to the north is actually to the east. Glen Avenue. Most of the homes on North Glen and on Lake will be adjacent to single family homes. So it will be single family home next to single family home. That is the transition. Now, there are 3 homes that are adjacent to townhomes. That's not very drastic. But if you look at the line, the apartments that are proposed are on the lower part of that transmission line, and they are oriented toward 3rd Street. So the traffic would come off of 3rd and go back to 3rd. It's not traffic that, for any logical reason, would go up into other parts of the neighborhood. Go to that next slide, please. This shows the same thing, but it also is a site plan that shows you better. It's 2 buildings, 45 units combined, but it shows that it will be very well oriented right there to 3rd Street. And if you could go to the next one, not only is it adjacent to 3rd Street, but it's adjacent to existing apartments. On Hunter's Court, there's Hunter's Glen Apartments. Go to the next one. These apartments have been here for some time. And so it puts apartments next to apartments. It is a perfect transition. Go to that next slide, if you would. Now, you're going to have to make a recommendation based on your land use plan. Your land use plan was done by the Council of Governments. 6.9 units per acre is medium density. Problem is, you don't have a category for medium density. You have a category that goes from 2 units per acre, 4 units per acre, to 28 units per acre. But when you have something that's just under 7 units, there's no category for it. You also don't have a category for townhomes, and you don't have a category in your land use plan that accommodates, even describes something called mixed-use residential. Now, this is, you can blame the Triangle Council of Governments for that, but they did just a basic land use plan. So go to the next one. Now, that land use plan that was done it's almost like it was dark ages ago, And you're doing the right thing. You are updating this plan. You have your choice. It's a good move to do that, but it was pre-pandemic. It was pre-VinFast, pre-Toyota, pre-Wolfspeed, pre-Boom Supersonic, and it was before the housing crisis that is affecting all parts of Randolph, Guilford, Alamance, Chatham, all the counties here, and you might go to that next slide. But because it's so dated, it gives you freedom. It gives you freedom to interpret it, and all those lack of all those categories that you need means that you're not bound by it. You're not, those aren't shackles, they're actually opportunities to interpret where that plan is. Go to this next slide, which is shows you the consistency. These are all they're in the staff report. But the main thing is it shows you medium density on the map that identifies this tract and says medium density. And all of these principles are incorporated in what will be a very high-end, highly designed, high-quality homes, townhomes, and apartment buildings. There won't be anything second-rate about this. This developer doesn't do anything that is second-rate. Go to this next slide, please. And this is my last slide. I want to ask Ms. McQueen to speak. A couple of weeks ago, February 20th, we sent a 6-page letter to everybody whose property touched. It had a copy of the site plan. It showed the median density designation in your land use plan. It talked about traffic. It talked about protection of the environment. It was a highly informative letter. And we said, if you want to talk about this, here is my personal direct phone number. Here is my personal and direct email. I monitor it just about 18 hours a day. And we're going to have a meeting. We're going to have a Zoom meeting, and we invite you to attend. We had only one citizen who attended. Nobody called. Nobody emailed. We had one citizen. That was all of the citizens who chose to speak to us, to ask questions or to say anything. So now I noticed that there are more names that are on the list to speak tonight. They chose to speak to us, but that's okay. I've been doing this for almost 40 years, and I know that change is not easy. There has never been, in my experience, somebody who says, take down the trees that I have known all my life and build houses. I've never seen it. Yet that is how change and growth come. Change does not sit well with people, and I get that. But Siler City is at that point where it's not change is about to happen, change has happened. These are the things that you do to deal with it. Now, there is water and sewer available. We all know that your utilities have to be upgraded. And in the meantime, if this is approved, this developer just sits in line. He does not get a break. He has to sit patiently and wait for other people who got there beforehand. And I'd like to close by asking Ms. McQueen if she would get up here and say a couple of things, and then we will have finished. Oh, let me see. I did not introduce Jennifer Scott. Ms. Scott is the general counsel for the developer. She is a Chatham County attorney. I think many people here know her. She's been around and done a lot of projects. I'm proud to be involved with Jennifer. Hope you can.
Thank you. Do you mind going back to that slide that had the colored rendering? Just to show how far back it was. So we have a visual to look at as I talk a little bit more. Yep, that one right there. Hi, my name is Courtney McQueen. I'm with Community Engineering. I have with me here J.L. Wagner, who's with Community Engineering and Landscape Architecture as well. I just wanted to briefly touch on a few items that you talked about and just kind of walk you through the intent of the design. When laying the site out, we were very intentional to take in mind the community that surrounded it, the land uses that surrounded it, and the topography as well. One thing that he mentioned was that there is a utility easement that runs through the site, as also a low point is in the valley. So it's not just a physical separation in terms of wires and easements, but it's also topography, separation of the site as well. With that in mind, we try to keep the apartments on that side that just naturally stays away from the single family development to be adjacent to the apartments that are on Hunter Court. What's unique about this project is we're able to look at this in terms of an equitable project that would give people access to homes. And the fact that you could start off in an apartment and then as you're here for a while, you could possibly transition over to townhouses and then one day be able to transition over to owning single family units. With that, we were intentional on looking at trying to bring separation where we could by the single family. If you notice, there's more buffer area towards the east side. We tried to create areas where recreational components would happen that would be more by the single family to give a little more separation between the single family and the townhome uses. And another thing that we tried to be considerate of is the topography. The site from the north side to the south side is about 100 feet of change. And we were intentional about putting our stormwater management to the west side that would direct water away from the adjacent communities. And we'd be able to capture and treat the water and not be directing water to any of the surrounding uses. If there's any questions about the design, I'm here to answer anything. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions or concerns before we go back to the public comments? Okay, we'll go back to Mr. BRAY. State your name and address, please, sir.
My name is BRAY. I live at 705 North Glen Avenue. And I just want to say I'm not against growth. I grew up in this house. When my mom passed, I moved back and bought the house with my sisters. When I was a kid, I played football in the front yard. All the neighborhood kids would come over. Most of these lots are at least, they're a little over an acre, some are a little under an acre. And I think most people that bought in this neighborhood recently have bought with the expectation that this zoning was going to stay the same. So it would match our neighborhood. I don't think this new development is going to match the neighborhood. I think it would be better to leave it as is and let them develop it just like it is. I think it's the best thing for the children.
Thanks, sir. Yes. Rail.
That was me.
Oh, that was just, okay. The Queen.
And she just spoke also.
Format.
Jacob Womack, I was the last, I feel like I'm skipping somebody, but I'll go ahead. First off, Jacob Womack, I live at 805 North Glen Avenue here in Siler City. Thank you very much for letting me speak. I appreciate your time. I signed up to speak against this measure, not because I'm anti-development. The zone has been zoned to development. No one's trying to get it unzoned for development. I grew up building houses with my dad. Development kept me close. However, I do think that part of what attracted me to this neighborhood, and I'm a relatively recent transplant to Siler City, we moved here in 22, was a neighborhood like the one that I moved into. Part of the appeal was a big yard, a house where I could see, kids and folks around in the front yard, that kind of mentality that's a big part of the American dream, the way I was raised. And while I don't necessarily find anything offensive about the development plan as put forward, I do feel that I feel like it's moving a bit too quick. I feel like it's a little short-sighted. I'm worried that in the long term, on 10, 20 years, we're gonna look back and regret the decision if we do rezone it. There's also the possibility that, 2 years before the moratorium or other things, there's a lot of things up in the air. We may be making a decision that we can choose to regret. If we do want to revisit this issue in a couple of years, we can always do that. But on zoning, it's a lot harder. which is my primary concern. I also, to several of the points made earlier about the number of jobs that are coming in, I'm sure some of the folks in this town want those jobs and may not need to be home. But while the development is a good thing, and I think there's a lot of different opportunities in this town to take into consideration, I do think that it's important to kind of maintain the nature of this town, and not just chase development for the sake of development. I think it needs to be a careful, considered decision, and I appreciate you taking your time to do so. Thank you.
Mr. Butch, Mrs. Richardson. Oh, it's Butch.
Coach Hudson, 108 Hudson Road in Siler City, and I'm here to represent Ann and Dean Matthias, Matt and Helen Henson. And also probably in the audience is Mike Adcock, Joanne Phillips, Mary Dudek, Cindy Hughes, and Ben and Maggie Jones and Mitch Dorsey. There's nothing, this guy did a great job. You did a super job, but there's too many houses on a small tract of land. You want to be compassionate, as the chief was, about the people that voted you in. These people voted you in. This is too many houses. I don't, the R20 was fine. It would be compatible with the neighborhood. I'd had somebody ask, have they done the traffic study yet with the state? Okay. On the number of homes, 45, 45, and 30, whatever it is, 110, somebody needs to do a traffic study, because that's a lot of traffic. I think also with the street that it's opening up to, I think going back to the planning board, which I live there. I think it has to have two entrances, and I don't think the one going on the Shannon Drive will suffice, because that street is smaller than what they're putting in. So you're kind of going to a bottleneck. And if you do open up Shannon all the way through, it's going to be a cut through for at least 80 homes. So they're going to be using that street. It's just, I want growth. Hey, I'm in the business for growth. That's what I'd like to see, is some new homes. There's no new homes in Siler City. But putting this many on that small a tract, I mean, if it was twice as big, it might be fine. But putting this many homes on 17 acres, I'm sure glad that the people that developed Garland and all those houses up in there, they didn't do that back in the 50s. Because we'd have had a mess. Because those streets aren't wide enough as they are. But the traffic is the main concern coming out on the West 3rd Street. And also the number of homes per acre. At 7.9 sounds good. Apartments sound good. That's all we've done since 2000 is build apartments. Look all over town. There's an apartment, you've got three apartments that we can't open up because of the moratorium. We've got apartments. And if you go back and look at affordable housing, and if Mr. Meadows was here, the former planning director, that's all we did on the planning board for the last 20 years. Albert and Curtis, and Travis, that's what we did. That's what we're doing. It was affordable housing. But we probably didn't do enough of it. We didn't have investors like this bunch. If they'd have been in here in 2000, they could have done a lot of affordable houses. Those houses on the upper end, they're gonna be nice homes, but as Garland and the rest of these people, their lots are almost an acre. These lots are gonna be, Garland could put 3 on his lot. He could put 3 of these houses on his lot. That's how much difference it's gonna be. That's how much more dense it's gonna be. But I commend this guy tonight. You did a great job. You did a fantastic job, but hope you don't convince this board. And that's what I gotta say for those. I'm not gonna bring up the particulars. Those particulars need to be brought to you, especially traffic. I just believe that has to happen, because that traffic on West 3rd Street, I know the DOT is gonna require 2 turning lanes. Because 3rd Street's the main way to get to Wolf Speed. And whether you're working there and coming back here, you gotta turn left, and you don't wanna turn left in front of Mitch Dorset's house. You just don't wanna take a right on Mitch Dorset's house unless there's a turning. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Wagner. Do we have a Wagner to speak?
No, she's with us.
So she's with you. Okay. Oh. I guess we need to close.
Clarify a couple of points.
Excuse me.
May I clarify a couple of points?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. You heard the word affordable 3 or 4 times. These are not affordable homes and these are not affordable apartments. Everything out here is market rate. It is what the market will carry. There is such a thing as affordable apartments, but you have to go through the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. That is not what this developer does. It's not what these apartments will be. As I said in our neighborhood letter, the rate charged to the people in these apartments will be equal to or probably greater than some of them, if not most of the mortgages in the nearby subdivision. The other thing is, as to the traffic, if NCDOT requires there to be turn lanes, then this developer has to put in turn lanes. That is not debatable. NCDOT is an NCDOT road. If it's required, it's required. They do this based on traffic modeling, very sophisticated traffic modeling that does the counts for this subdivision. And those traffic models are very accurate. They use DOT uses some of the most sophisticated traffic modeling software in the world. And they will tell you what you have to do to mitigate. I appreciate your time, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
I'd like to recall Ms. Baptiste, if we could. And the point was brought up, has a traffic study been done of any type?
No, they have not submitted an official traffic impact analysis study. A TIA has to be submitted and reviewed by our engineer that we contract with, as well as NCDOT. That has not been done.
Are there any questions for Ms. Baptiste from the board?
At what point would that traffic study? When is it required with the application or?
Typically, we do require it at the time of submittal, but in the ordinance, there is no hard and fast rule as to when it has to be done.
So my question on West Third.
Yes, ma'am.
We know it floods. What is that going to do as far as, you know, if there is a heavy rain coming in and all of that, because we know that floods bad.
Well, I'm not an engineer, but during site design, whenever they do get their water and sewer allocation and they do their submittal, we will submit it to an engineer to make sure that there is adequate stormwater controls.
One last question, can you tell me the reasons for the planning board's denial?
The planning board found it as incompatible with the land use plan.
And that was pretty much not in the details, nothing intriguing, that was
Yes.
incompatible.
Yes, and the land use plan and the surrounding area.
Okay, if there's no other questions for Ms. Baptiste, thank you for your presentation.
Mayor,
Yes,
the board can begin discussing or whatever, but I would recommend leaving the public hearing open in case that discussion yields a question to someone,
okay,
and then close it later.
right, thank you, sir. Well, let me start off, and I've said this before, and I will reiterate this again. I'm of the mindset that when the planning board, and this is just me, that makes a denial, I pretty much think we should follow that process. They have studied it, they have looked over it, and then sent it to us. I've seen it happen before and I've questioned it personally. Why did you do that? When you have that planning board that actually, that is what they do. And so I'm just going to go from that standpoint. And if any of the other commissioners have anything to add to that. I do understand that there's gonna be a greater volume of traffic and we cannot say which end they will come in or which end they won't come in. It's gonna be debatable. It will change the neighborhood drastically. And so again, I'm gonna yield to the rest of the commissioners to from there to hear their voices.
Well, I was on the planning board. Anytime the planning board denies something, they had studied it. And anytime they studied it, most time it's right.
Well, may I ask a question? The developer said there was another project in Siler City by the same developer. Could you tell me what project that was?
Yes, thank you. So I'm Jennifer Scott. I'm signed up, but I'll just address this because I do want to address your concern. 244 High Ridge Lane. I live in Pittsburgh. Like you said, many of you know me. I've been here forever. The other project that we came through in August is out at Richard Fox's place near Coventry. There's an apartment building over there. So you have heard from this developer before and seen site plans. I just want to let you know about two things. At the planning board, there was a bunch of discussion and I know is in this position, it is difficult to look out on a sea of people that voted for you or did not, whichever, and to make the hard choices. But what we asked the planning board to do in pretty short presentation, nothing like what Mr. Terrell presented to you this evening, was just an overall vision of the project. We are not at site plan approval at this point. This is just a legislative zoning matter at this point. Those plan can be adjusted. We tried to lay out a vision for what this developer sees in this area for some diverse housing and some transitional community space there. We tried to show the ponds where stormwater will be redirected and so on, but it was a much briefer presentation. And I think it's difficult for an appointed body, and I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, they should have studied it and would have studied it in a perfect world. But I think it's difficult for them to look at these folks. How that went was that there was a motion and a second from the planning board, and then a call for ayes and a call for nays, and there was silence. So I don't know, frankly, who voted for or against. I understand that your policy here is that when there is no vote, it's deemed an affirmative vote. However, when I left the building, two members of the planning board were together. One specifically said to me, I just want to let you know, I didn't think I knew enough about it, so I didn't vote. So I don't think that a unanimous decision came from your planning body. And I want to make sure you understand that. I think there was some concern about understanding where we are in the process. The traffic count, we have done a traffic count. Hasn't been submitted yet because we're not to that phase, but we do have a traffic study. If we had to do a full TIA with the DOT, that will be in process, no problem. I think that I just want to make sure for this board that you understand when we did our planning board presentation, it's much different than what was given to you this evening. It was because Mr. Ravani, that Mr. Kalandidi has gone through the process with the town. He was encouraged every step of the way. The design and the transitional housing that is offered in this plan was actually fostered by the staff, the folks that he dealt with, and that the engineers dealt with to this point. So we just didn't have any idea when we came to the planning board that there would be opposition to this extent. And so I think we've made a greater effort this evening to show you what the plan is, how those buffers are with that neighborhood at Glen, and then really what effect may be on those folks. The traffic is not the same. They're coming out a different spot. You've got apartments that match. You've got some transition with the townhomes. And yes, it's a little denser, but this is not nearly a dense community as what you would see, in any other jurisdiction, as far as the density that I deal with and that Tom deals with in other places in the state. This is still virtually rural. I mean, this is just not the kind of density that that we see in other places, and frankly, probably that you need. But we're trying to present a high-end project with some diverse options, really to benefit the community here. So I'll leave you with that, and thanks for letting me address the planning board issue, because I think that's a big one, and I understand your concern.
Can we get to their questions? They had some questions, some technical questions that we can speak to. Can we do that?
Yes.
Okay, so Jill. That's you.
My name is J.L. Wagner. I'm a professional landscape architect with Community 112 Indian Overlook Court in Morrisville, North Carolina. As folks have stated here, this is sort of a conceptual design at this piece to be able to move into technical design, and details like the stormwater piece that you brought up earlier, as well as dealing with environmental components, protections, that sort of thing, designing in more greater detail to respond to the significant topography change that corresponds throughout this site will be taken into consideration. What you see on the plan that we have here does consider some of those items, but not to the intricate detail that site design and construction documents would require. One of the most important things that we did consider at this stage to set us up for success was the stormwater piece. And in the future, if there are requirements that NCDOT does give us related to traffic, whether it's a road widening option, whether it's turn lanes, left, right, whatever the case may be, to not negatively impact, but in aspect also maybe in positively impact the traffic in this area, because I understand you guys have an issue today. Stormwater would be a component of that, and addressing any flooding issues that you might have today, we would need to make sure that those were taken care of as well. So it's a part and parcel where we are right now. We would progress through addressing utilities, topography, environmental protections, and things of that nature. But I also do want to point out that with some of the surrounding areas where you guys do have developments, one of the things that we wanted to bring to the table was open space and the ability to utilize this space for the residents for some type of recreation use in those parts and pieces, and to buffer the different densities that are within this one development from each other. And I do think that that's something that Courtney and her team really worked well towards addressing.
I do want to address something that I heard twice. I realize that the voters are in the audience, and I do realize that they have elected us to do a job. And so with that being said, that is a part of the consideration. People, elected officials have to make hard decisions all the time. And some people are gonna like them and some people are not. So, I've heard it twice, and I just wanna make it very clear that sometimes decisions are made that neither side likes. So I hope I don't have to address that again. I know who put us here. And I understand that, but there are times when tough decisions have to be made. Ms. Baptiste, where you coming?
I would just like to address Ms. Scott's comment about the vote. There was an audible vote. Every member who spoke voted. I have Miss Retta Fox is here. She is on the board. She can speak for herself and attest to the fact that it was an audible vote, and anyone who wished to vote, voted. No one voted in opposition to the denial. Our town attorney, Mr. Morgan, was there. I'm sure that he can attest that it was an audible vote. So I don't know why the comment is being made that no one voted either way. There was an audible vote by the board recommending that.
All right, thank you.
Jim, I was at that meeting. You're correct.
Any other comments or concerns before we close the public hearing?
The main current concern, another concern that I have is I'm just looking at the location and then looking at the location of the other houses that's already in that particular area. And that's going to make it so congested.
Yeah.
And I just have a concern about that.
The outlets bother me also. How do you get in and out of there with
Yeah.
that much traffic? But again, anyone else, because the board will make a determination following closing this public hearing. Yes, sir.
I'll walk away. I did want to say that I also was at that zoning board meeting and I also recall there being an audible vote. I also was the one neighbor that attended the meeting that they invited to, and it was, I'm grateful they were there, but I didn't particularly feel that the reason other folks weren't there was because they weren't curious or they didn't have feelings. I just think they'd already kind of made up their mind before the vote, before the meeting, and they just didn't particularly feel the need to attend. Not to speak for my fellow citizens, but I think most folks kind of knew where they stood.
All right, thank you. If there's no one else, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
I'm moving probably second that public hearing be closed. All in favor, vote by a sign of aye. The ayes, all opposed have the same right. Motion carried. Okay, here's where we are, guys. We have two options. I believe Ms. Baptiste gave us actually three options. And I want to know what the board's pleasure is. So we can proceed with this matter. Now, we don't have a traffic study, we don't have a flood plan. And I will say, without those, it's almost impossible in my mind to make a decision. But if the board has a decision already in mind, I would like for it to be said at this time.
Well, I have a decision.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to disapprove the proposed zoning map amendment from R20 to R3C. I find the amendment is not consistent with the town of Siler City's future land use plan based on staff report, supporting exhibits, the consistency statement, the testimony provided. I also find the amendment is not reasonable and is not in harmony with the surrounding area.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second, for disapproval, all in favor, vote by sign of aye. All the nays have the same right. Thank you, for your time. Thank you guys, the community for coming out and taking part in this. Thank you, the developers, for everybody making their presentation. It has been approved and disapproved. Thank you.
Yes, Mayor, item 5.1 in your packet is requesting a repealing of the utility rate motion made at February 29th.
Excuse me. Okay.
Staff is requesting repealing of the utility rate motion from the February 29th meeting. It's noted on page 44 of your packet. Near the end, next to the last bolded paragraph, at the bottom of page 44, this is what the motion was at that February 29th meeting. Again, staff is requesting the repealing of that motion based on the existence of a contract with Chatham County that's in conflict with that motion.
Did you guys get that?
When is the contract over with the county?
It was, from recollection, it was a 5-year contract
that will auto renew on July 1st for 5 more years that require a 365-day notice to get out of the contract.
Anyone else? Maybe I can give you guys an explanation of what is actually going on here. The board has made a concentrated effort to do something about these water bills. And we did come up with a plan to adjust them. Upon further investigation, we found out that that particular plan could not be implemented. So we are coming back and undoing what we tried to do and look at some other options to help our citizens. We know your concerns and we are concerned. And so we're not done yet, but we have to go back because of this contract with the county. We could not go the route that we wanted to go. So being open and transparent, I want everybody to know what that particular repealing that ordinance is about. And we will continue to look at a way to help reduce our water bills.
I'll make a motion to rescind the motion concerning utility rates from February the 29th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
It's been moved probably second that we repeal the motion. All in favor by sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same right. Motion carried. New business,
Mayor, we just have one other old business item. Commissioner Larry Cheek.
yeah. Talk to his wife. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. On the last 2 pages of your packet, you'll notice a memo regarding what was requested by Commissioner Bray at a previous meeting about having a recognition through signage and a memorial plaque in honor of former Mayor Pro Tem Larry Cheek at the pavilion at Bowling Lane Park. There's a couple items on those 2 pages in your pack, along with an image of what the plaque may look like. It is comparable to plaques that the town has utilized in the past. You also have at your table tonight additional information that we've received from Chatham Monument Company Incorporated that was not available at the time the packet was produced for the meeting tonight. There's the full quote available there after efforts by our town clerk to get the best available price for the service. They did note that there is a shortage on granite right now, so there may be a delay. There's expected to be a delay from obtaining the granite to mount the plaque on, but the plaque could be made in a short period of time, should the board wish to proceed.
And I did speak with Ms. Sheik today, and she's ecstatic about this, to say the least, that we thought enough of Mayor Pro Tem Cheek to do this, and so she's all in favor, just waiting to let her know when this will take place.
So if the wording on the plat, there's gotta be some corrections.
So that's why I wanted to show you guys something. And so what you also have to decide, if you look at Tyler, the 4 that Tyler gave you on the first page, we come up with some different ideas of some names. And then the second one, again, these are just very rough drafts. We wanted you all to have the opportunity to pick the exact wording that you want, because this is your plaque, so, okay?
Now, we're still gonna do the banner on the building,
Yes.
so
yes.
that will say James Larry Cheek Pavilion. Am I
And,
correct?
and I will tell you this, that the Greg at the Monument Place, he said, Kimberly, he said, you may want to ask the commissioners, he said, because I knew him as Larry. He says, James throws me off. And he goes, I know that's his name. And so I said, well, I'm gonna share that with them.
because he does do these all the time. So that's another thing to think about, if you wanna just, I put the parentheses around Larry because that's what y'all called him. But you may wanna drop the James, it just depends if you wanna do the one on the building is the Liberty Pavilion, and then do the bronze plaque more official, it's totally up to y'all.
I would rather see his real name and leave the parentheses around Larry.
Okay. Okay,
But is it okay if we just call the pavilion Larry G. Pavilion or Memorial Pavilion? Or you want to have his whole name on that too?
I'd rather have his own name on it.
Well, I think we'll get the messenger. I mean,
Yeah, everybody knows him as Larry, but
Yeah.
you know, that's his real name.
Yeah, since that's going to be set forever, so. And
But then there's still some other corrections on it that we need to make.
and I wanted to point out the, let's see, an appreciation of 17 years. And then it says the picnic shelter at Bowling Lane Park will now be named. I'm not a big fan of the word picnic.
I'm not either.
I'm not.
And so you know, I threw it out there again, because this is I want this to be y'all created together. So we're all in agreement, drop the picnic.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other changes, Ms. Smith?
Also, where it says in appreciation of 17 years of honorable and faithful services, take the S off of services.
Okay.
And it would read, in appreciation of 17 years of honorable and faithful service as a Siler City Town Commissioner.
Okay.
And Travis's name is on there.
Yeah, I would love to have another.
I wish there was some way, and I'm not so sure. As also listing somewhere the names of the former commissioners Larry served with, it's not on the board now, and the former mayors, because he served with over 17 years, he served with various people that's not on the board now. And I wish there was something somewhere we could have that recognition of those people, because anyone that served with Larry loved Larry, so. And we don't want them to be forgotten either, that they were part of his life. But I don't know how we would do that.
Or are you speaking of
Well, like,
something etched in stone, or just, what about just reading it out? I mean,
well, something so that people know that, for example, Tony Siler and him served for years and years together. And not just Tony, I'm just one example. He served through several mayors and commissioners, and so somewhere maybe have a plaque that listed all the people. You don't have to have anything etched in stone, but maybe a plaque somewhere,
you know,
something.
I was just gonna recommend, I probably wouldn't add too much more to the actual bronze plaque.
Yeah.
Doesn't come too much, but maybe you could look at doing another sign somewhere near the pavilion.
Yeah.
With that, maybe his life
that
story.
information.
But I wasn't talking about adding it to this particular one, but just somewhere else, say, through his 17 years of service. I mean, it could be in paper and it could be, you know, framed somewhere and put somewhere there. He served with blah, 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 and mayor so-and-so and commissioner so-and-so.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns before we move forward?
And we're going to, also, we talked about, even if this is not ready, which it sounds like it's not going to be ready for a while, that we go ahead and have a dedication and recognition at the pavilion.
Yeah.
If we could think about a time when we can do that, so everyone can be there and have some refreshments, and then make sure his family can be there.
Well, as we go in, we're getting into the spring of the year, it's getting ready to get, hopefully, prayerfully, prettier days, warmer days, so we can set that, date in April also.
Okay.
See where that plaque is by April, and then we
That sounds
move
good.
it forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Well, will we need to wait for the granite base? If it's gonna be 6 to 8 months, or?
No,
Okay.
You get the plaque, the dimensions already set. And have a plaque, and when the great base comes in, you just apply it to it. And
So we would go ahead, once we had the plaque made, we would present that to this chief. And then we would give it back to Chatham Monument, and then they would come and set everything for us. And he's actually going to try to push this, quicker. He just wanted to give me realistic expectations on granite, just in case. He didn't want to promise me 3 months and it really take the maximum out, so. And it will match everything, the one that's already out there, it will match the Helen Buckner one, so everything will be consistent, it'll be identical in size, shape, and mounted just like hers.
and now, do we need a motion to proceed on this, or we good?
If you want to nail down, it would be appropriate to do a motion as a minute.
To approve the expenditure.
Yes.
I'll make a motion, we approve, approve for signage for the memorial plaque, at Bowling Lane Park.
That's second.
With the suggested changes.
All right, it's been moved on the second, that we approve of the plaque for former Commissioner Larry Cheat with the necessary changes. All in favor by sign of aye. All opposed have the same right. Motion carried. New business,
No new business right there.
Mr. Moore.
I have nothing to present at this time.
Okay. Governing comments,
When's our next budget meeting?
we have to decide that today. And so since we are talking about governing, that, has everybody had an opportunity to go over the information that was submitted last meeting so that we'll be prepared for the next budget session? Has everybody reviewed it and ready to go?
Feel good?
I have one question. Are you able to do any Saturdays in the month of April?
Yes.
Okay, what about the first Saturday morning at 8:30?
Let me find April.
Okay.
Spring Chicken Festival.
Oh, thank you.
The
With the big pencil, then
Oh,
I'm gonna get in the way of chicks.
That's April. It's in May.
May.
Oh, okay.
First Saturday in April would be the 6th, is that correct?
yes, the 6th.
Everybody good?
Do we want to dedicate 2 full days to the budget?
Oh, I'm looking at 4 hours, 8 to 8:30 to maybe 12:30, and going home and then coming back. Seeing where we are. All of this is gonna be based on the progress we make. As to determine what's next and what needs to be done next.
Okay.
And everybody be fresh. We won't have to nobody's coming from work, but just coming in and taking care of that business.
Okay.
That sounds good.
All right.
April 6th then?
Yeah, April 6th, 8:30.
Yeah, you'll send us a reminder, right?
Of course, yes, so, we'll do breakfast and.
This will be, sorry, I didn't mean it. This will be 3 hours.
I don't wanna say 3 hours, I don't wanna say 2 hours. What I wanna do is, when we start losing focus, go home. As soon as somebody, you guys know, have a tendency to go off in the weeds when that happens. It's time to do something else. Because we're not making any progress, so that's 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, let's see. But plan for 4.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Make sure when we come that we have legitimate things to,
Yeah.
that's set in accordance to the budget, not that we're gonna get out here or something and start talking about this.
it is a budget session.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's easy to get off track and.
Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it appropriate for us to have a copy of the whole budget, for us to review prior to these budget workshops, or is there a reason why we're just getting like bits and pieces of it?
It's just as it's available to be shared. It's just being, the longer you wait in the sessions, the more detail we can give you. I thought it was important to prioritize the general fund because that's where most of our departments are, and especially in lieu of the situation we're working out with Sanford. So it's just, we're just making it available as soon as possible.
Sure.
We work on it every day. I mean, every day we work, it's a little bit better than where it was.
Yeah, I understand it's, large and complex, and just, I like to read and
Have as much
have as much as I
information.
can.
I think if the next meeting's April 6th, I think we'll be in a good place to share much more detail.
Projected revenues?
Yes.
Okay.
So we can definitely have that for April 6th.
Thank you.
Any other concerns, questions, thoughts? There's one, is Chris still here? What the hell is Chris? Okay, we have to do like that, so many kids. You go into this usage process and how that determination has been made. We have talked about it, you and I, Commissioner Paley. Alex had some concerns. I'd like to put that to bed this evening.
Yeah, as far as the moratorium goes?
Yes.
Yeah, so the way that we've interpreted, me and Hank, I'm talking to the bus with. So if you had an active water account as of May, when the moratorium went into effect, you can still get water to that residence, business, whatever it was. Even if it was shut down and opened back up, as long as it was active when the moratorium went into effect. If it wasn't active, then you can't have water or sewer for that, it's residential, commercial, business, whatever it was. And the reason that is because we're not allowed to add any significant sewer to the system. And if you didn't have an account, then anything that you added, in our interpretation, is significant.
Well, and the reason I thought that was important, and I know it, is one thing we all know, well, some of us may or may not know, DEQ won't define significant volume. They'll leave it up to the municipality, and then once it falls on us, if we go past whatever that number is, it's an automatic fine. And so they're not gonna take responsibility, so some decision had to be made on how this would work. And that's where we are.
Right, so our moratorium doesn't give us any additional capacity, but our SOC gives us 325,000 gallons, which 240 of that is going to Wolfspeed.
Right.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? The significant volumes was clarified by Vanessa with DEQ. I spoke to her last week. She stated 600 gallons per day. So Mr. Vasquez's property along Fayetteville Avenue, it's the same exact building. He can't get a tenant, or sorry, he has a tenant, but tenant can't turn the water on.
Right.
So this is a gentleman who pays taxes on a property that's basically useless. It's the significant volume really was quantified at 600 per day, 18,000 a month, which is more like a commercial, almost industrial type use of water. This has a single bathroom on this particular property. This was brought to my attention by this particular constituent. I do feel like his property rights have been violated in the DEQ. It does not state, this is a policy that was dictated by you and Hank, that these accounts prior to the moratorium were ineligible for reactivation. I do believe Mr. Vasquez's property rights are violated. He pays taxes on this. He can't utilize the property. So if this is a policy that you and Hank decided to make.
That's not a policy, it's administrative.
Right, but see.
Set policies, y'all set the policies.
Right, well, the board never voted on this.
It's administrative.
But that was a policy that you and Hank
It's not a
decided.
policy.
This is, I mean, you admitted this to me during the government class that you and
It's
Hank.
administrative, yeah, it was an administrative decision, not a policy.
Okay, I mean, I feel like we're playing semantics. This was not dictated specifically by DEQ. It was not explicit.
So
That was the decision that was made, not by DEQ.
DEQ's definition of significant, they quote a statute. And it mainly says that anything that's not covered under the statute, which is construction stuff. So anything that's not covered under construction is up to our determination, which is.
So Jersey Mike's, how do we allow Jersey Mike's to come in? Was that something that was already existing or?
We allow them under the SOC.
Okay. Is there any more remaining resources that have not been reallocated as of this moment? Out of the 325 granted by the SOC? 200 some odd went to Wolf Speed. How much is left?
So
That's just resource.
there's like 1,000 gallons a day left.
1,000 gallons a day. Okay. So Mr. Vasquez, is there any particular reason why he can't have his water turned on so he can rent his property and we can make tax revenue from it? It's a mutual benefit for the town and the taxpaying citizen.
We can give that to him.
So this is my main concern. This guy is my constituent. I feel like his water rights are being violated, which is an extension of the Fifth Amendment. Pursue a life of liberty and happiness. You own property. If you own property, you can't have water, you can't utilize your property. So I see this as a constitutional issue, and it's true root. And that bothers me greatly. So if there's still 1,000 gallons left, then I think we should grant to Mr. Vasquez if that's true. These are resources that we're taking from an individual, in my opinion, and reallocated to another property owner without the previous property owner's consent. That's what it really boils down to.
I don't agree, but
That's how I view it. I don't know how else to look into something like that. That Mr. Vasquez's property rights, I believe, were taken from him because he now has a piece of property that he can't use. And like I said, if we're not willing to do that, then we shouldn't make him pay taxes on this. You know,
Here's where that gets complicated. He's not the only person.
I understand that. This is the person that's come to me.
Well, you know, there's other citizens that have that same issue, and he just said 1,000 gallons. So to not show preferential treatment to anybody, you just freeze it across the board until more is able to be allocated. And that's not a violation of anybody's rights. Let me explain one thing to you. And I do understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to where I live. And it was just brought to my attention the other day, and this is not a knock on any business at all. But using your premise, my entire neighborhood should be bulldozed. Because there are days that we cannot open windows, we can't sit on decks, we can't do any of that. So I don't.
You're saying because of the chicken plant?
Exactly. So
It'd be different if you guys signed your water rights away. See, there was no consent for the city.
It's water rights away.
My point is he did it unknowingly. He didn't realize that if he had his account deactivated, his train of thought moving forward, he didn't have the foresight to say, I may not be able to reactivate this account. Most people aren't thinking that way. They think if they deactivate their water account, hey, I still have a water tap here. The infrastructure is still in place. I should be at some point be able to turn it back on if I pay a reconnection fee.
What about the other 50 or 40 or 50 residents that are in the same?
If that's the case, I believe their water rights have been violated too. And this was all given to a large corporation, Wolf Speed, that the state or whoever allowed the SOC to take place with this certain amount of water to be reallocated. That was taken from somebody else and given to another company. It was taken from residents. If that's the case, if what you're alleging is true with other individuals.
Sure,
it's a reallocation of land.
So that's not the case. We set what we wanted the SOC to be. Now, we did ask for more than 325, but those were all based on people that we knew were needing.
Who decided that?
Well, you shut that business down. We didn't know moratorium was coming. You didn't know moratorium was coming on.
The Board of Commissioners decided that. Because the Board of Commissioners voted for an economic development agreement that required sewer allocation to Wolf Speed. So it wasn't preferential treatment. You have a contractual obligation to Wolf Speed that you don't have with the other.
The board realized that people's water accounts may not be able to be restored. I think that was maybe an unintended consequence.
I think that's the definition of a moratorium.
So the moratorium explicitly states, so guys, that no taps are to be added. It doesn't say anything about ineligibility of accounts reactivation.
It's really the same thing.
I think the language is broad and I'm not sure if you guys are correct. With all due respect, I don't think it's.
Can you get in writing where she said that?
This was a phone conversation, unfortunately, so I can't follow up with her. She quoted a statute with the 600 gallons a day. That was what she defined as significant volume. So residences and small commercial buildings wouldn't fall under that. I know nobody wants to be sued or whatever by DEQ. They want to be fined, and DEQ doesn't want to be, in violation of its own policy. So we can get it. I can try to get it in writing from Vanessa from DEQ.
Something to keep in mind too, that Chris says we have 325,000 gallons under the SOC. That's for meeting all 4 phases of the SOC.
And which phase are we in, 2 or 3?
We completed 3, so we only have 200,000 of the 325. Because that's all that's granted up through the first 3 phases. There's another 125,000 for completing phase 4, which gets you to 325, but that's going to require substantial compliance with DEQ regulations and completing the upgrade of the wastewater treatment plant.
Exactly.
Well,
Years down the road.
So you're a couple years down the road.
How far are we along with, for Mount Air's expansion of the wastewater treatment plant? Is that about a year out? Approximately?
A couple of years.
But that'll substantially help our wastewater treatment plant with their water
It
district.
won't give us any more capacity, but it will help.
But it'll make the water cleaner. And it'll help you be in accordance with their regulatory standards. Okay. Is there anything that can be done for Mr. Vasquez? If you're saying there's 1,000 available to allocate, can he have his water bill turned on? I just spoke to him a couple of days ago. He still says he can't get it turned on. Do I get on the record that he can have his water bill reactivated?
I don't think we should do that because in all fairness, we have other people out there under the same, in the same position, and we do not have the water to do it for everybody, so.
We just said there's 1,000 available. I mean, it's.
There's 1,000
Come forward.
I mean, there's other people that need the same resource.
I understand. How many other individuals have come forward to you guys with this issue?
Well, we've had several that was requested it before him, so. I mean, I don't know how you.
Well, I guess that'd be the first come, first served basis then. But we have citizens who can't have previous water turned on accounts that, piece of property they're paying taxes on, guys. This is useless land.
I understand that.
This is a huge property rights violation.
Got a question.
Unfortunate.
Yes.
So I'm understanding, so I will clean it up. What if a person has a big building and they hadn't been using the top end of it, but it's got water and sewer and all that in the building? Are they gonna be restricted from using the top end of that building because of the sewer and water moratorium? I mean, sewer and water already in the building, but I'm trying to figure out where that lay at. You see what I'm saying? If you're gonna develop the top, the half of it. Is that, do you have to go through the moratorium in order to use that part of the existing blocks?
To the excess of the previous water bills, because I was told by
It says commercial building, I'm just saying.
If you're increasing the flow, then yeah, you can't get that extra sewer.
Are you talking about just using it, or is there any water and sewer gonna be used on the second level?
It's already gone. I mean, it's already there.
I know, I mean, is there any water and sewer gonna be used on the second level?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, bathrooms and stuff is already there. I mean, it's already, I don't know whether it's allocated into the whole thing when when it was done. Or see what we get at? It's.
Do you have a separate meter for your upstairs? For the. There's one meter.
It's 1 meter and there, it's plumbed, they got water. We just haven't been using. I'm just saying, I wanna know where I stand before I start the process. That's a dead end. I mean, you get what I'm saying?
William?
I can speak to that. So we look at 3 things: when the water was last used, so it's still active there in that time. What the usage is, what you're currently using, and then whatever the usage is going to be, whatever the future usage is going to be. As those are the 3 criteria that we.
about the same cities and that, it's probably gonna double what it is. I don't know how y'all do that. I'm asking the question because I ain't trying to go out there like that. And then y'all tell me I can't use it after you dump all this money on a project. I mean, that's. You get what I'm saying, it's like a career.
I understand what you're saying, but you're already using.
I'm already here.
It's almost like it's like running the tap and then turn on the washing machine.
See what I'm getting at?
It's all in the same building, that's the same system.
And do not turn the water on.
Right.
We can't turn the water on.
So it will be increase in volume, but it's already there.
That's the point I'm trying.
But anyway.
So do I get denied? Or something?
You're not applying for anything.
You get what, you know, when you go through the process. Then these
You
are.
already have running water in the building, you're not applying for anything.
Thank you for answering my question. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Any other concerns before?
Chris, can you clarify what you meant by administrative decision? Who made the decision? You said it was administrative. What do you mean by that?
We did meet Hank. I went with him with what I thought my interpretation of it was.
Okay. The administrative decision that was made unbeknownst to those property owners, and no, there's no accountability to the people who vote for administrators. I just want that to be on the record. That's a huge problem. Decisions not necessarily made by the board, people who make decisions that affect people's lives. If they make bad decisions, people can vote them out. On the other hand, administrators, people don't vote them in. That's really an issue with administrative decisions, in my opinion. I don't know if there's anything else we can do for these residents. But if we do have resources available, maybe a first in, first out basis would be in order. But we do have water that was evidently approved by the board for an economic incentive for Wolfspeed to come in, but the trade-off was property rights violations. And that was an unintended consequence, and it's very unfortunate. This is no, I'm not bad mouthing the board. I just wish this decision hadn't been made, or possibly if people had the foresight, possibly to understand that people's water accounts wouldn't be able to be turned on. It's very unfortunate. And I'm upset that nothing could be done for my constituent. He has a property that is unable to be used now. And so a tenant too that was going to occupy that building was going to be able to provide services for Siler City residents. Cutting keys and computer repair. Less tax revenue. Part of government is to be able to maximize tax revenue to make sure that we are not inhibiting business growth. Decisions like this unfortunately did decrease some business growth, locally owned businesses, might I add. So I'll conclude ending it that way. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions or concerns? Can I get a motion for closed session?
In accordance with General Statute 143-318-11A5, I make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
It's been moved probably second that we move into closed session. All in favor by sign of aye. All opposed have the same right. Thank you all for coming out. See you next month.